A very good morning, NAPTOSA members, leaders, potential leaders, and aspirant leaders. Very best wishes for you for the 2021 academic year. I wish you a very safe and productive year. NAPTOSA's commitment to you, empowering you, and commitment to building leadership is one of our top priorities. And we are going to be today engaging with a very prolific and well-known person, Tilly Govender, who is going to be taking us through this leadership webinar with much anticipated skill and expertise. I want to also say to you, thank you very much for registering for this webinar. It just shows your commitment and your will to be your best self. I'm confident that this morning you are going to enjoy this webinar and the presentation that's going to be a part of this webinar. It's going to inspire you as well as give you an opportunity to do some introspection. The program is going to be within the 2 hours as scheduled. We're going to have a presentation. We will then do a 5-minute comfort break. You might want to just grab a cup of coffee or just a leg stretch. And we will take some questions and answers. We'd like for it to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to type in any questions or comments that you may have in the Q&A. At the end, as a moderator, I will then present these questions to our facilitator, who will then answer as many as she possibly can, giving you as much of a response that she can. I want to just take you through the credentials of our presenter this morning. Tilly comes with some background in education, as she has been a high school teacher for many years. And she went on to completing her law degree, a B.Proc degree. She went on to doing an LLM, and she has her master's in law. She went on to being part of the Executive Development Program at Wits University in 2019. She is a certified international coach, speaker, and trainer for the John Maxwell team in 2019. Tilly has a world of experience, mostly in corporate, but bringing in that leadership skill and expertise to NAPTOSA is highly appreciated. Tilly is a professional trainer and coach for MindWiz Training Academy, which was established in 2019. She worked for APSA Trust in specific in Johannesburg, and she was involved in development of talent leadership programs across APSA Trust unit. She was also a senior fiduciary expert for APSA Wealth in Durban, created holistic financial solutions for ultra high level net worth clients of between 15 million to 600 million net asset value. And this included setting up of local and offshore trusts, conducting trust assessments. Tilly has been a legal advisor for Momentum for many years, from 2005 to 2013, providing legal support to 450 financial advisors. A synopsis of her CV, this is just an abbreviated one, it really goes on. So I am confident to our members out there that we have in our midst an expert who is going to share her insight into leadership, especially during these tough times. We as NAPTOSA believe that we need to provide you with some inspiration, some guidance, some motivation, in that you are steering a ship during very turbulent waters. And this morning, Tilly is going to take us through how she feels she can provide you with support, how you can do some introspection, and how it is at the end of this leadership seminar, you could actually feel better about yourself, feel stronger as a leader, and be in a position to lead your teams in your schools, lead your managers, and if you're a teacher, to lead in whichever way you can, because teachers in their classrooms are leaders in themselves. So thank you so much, Tilly, for joining us this morning and taking the time out to provide this for our members. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to listening to your expertise and your insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarona. Thank you so much for that kind and warm introduction. And I also want to thank NAPTOSA for the opportunity to serve. It's really, really a very special occasion for me because, you know, education is very, very close to my heart. So a very good morning to each and every one of you. I am truly delighted to see you and be with you and share this platform with you with so many, you know, the numbers thrown is just fabulous. So many enthusiastic and great leaders. So yeah, today is all about sharing insights about leadership. And I hope to, you know, bring some value to you as a leader. This has always been my passion, leadership and self-mastery. So feel free to utilize the chat box, make comments as we're going along, take notes if you want to. You will have all my details. I will impart that to you soon. So respond and actively engage. We will have a Q&A session at the end. Yeah, and we will try and address as many questions as we can. So yeah, I look forward to that. So our topic, dear leaders, is about distinguishing ourselves during tough times. So we all agree that we are certainly living in unprecedented times. Never in our lives have we encountered this situation before. Oh, sorry. Okay, there was a little glitch there. So yeah, as I was saying, we have never encountered a situation like this before. Over 42,000 in South Africa, right? In terms of COVID deaths, numbers are rising as we speak. Businesses are collapsing, downsizing. There are layoffs happening daily. And we are surrounded by poverty, by pain and suffering. We're certainly living in a VUCA world. You know, VUCA standing for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I mean, that's a terminology that's very, yeah, compatible with change and uncertain times. So no doubt, people, we are living through tough times. So how do we, as leaders, differentiate ourselves during these times, tough times? So before I actually dive into our topic today, and unpack what we should or shouldn't do as leaders, I'd like to ask you, dear leaders, a question, and I implore you to answer it. Because remember, we are all here to share knowledge and grow and make our contribution. So if I had to ask you this question, and I'd really like you to put it in the chat box if you want to, we'll probably give you a minute to do that. What is your current goal as a leader? So if, I mean, I'm assuming there's a whole lot of leaders on this webinar, and I'd like to ask you, what is your current goal as a leader? Maybe write it down, put it in the chat box. Let's give ourselves at least half a minute to do that. But just to go on, unfortunately, I'm not able to see your responses, and we'll probably only get the responses at, you know, towards the end or at the end of the webinar. Yeah, well, Patsy says, as a leader, I would like to give my team direction. Wonderful. Erica says, support and encourage team. Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. Kanona, sorry, Amy says to inspire children. Oh, the responses are coming in. Wow, I can see them. Thank you, guys. Keep them. Just keep them. Just ask yourself this question, because I'm going to ask you this question at the end again. And I want you to put your answer now and then see how it differs at the end, if it does. So thank you, people. Thank you so much. So I'd like to start off by telling you a story, okay? So, but I want to share my screen, right? So just want to make sure that I am, okay? I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. So our topic is leaders distinguish themselves during tough times, and that's me, and I belong to this, mine was Transformation Academy. The reason I call it the Transformation Academy is because we concentrate on transforming people and not just training. So training is obviously an aspect of transformation, and it's so leaders distinguish themselves. Let's start with the presentation, and you're more than welcome to give us your comments as you're going, make notes. So we all already put down what is our current goal as a leader. Thank you for that. So I want to tell you a little story. I want to start off by telling a little story about John Maxwell. This story is about John Maxwell. Remember, John is he's the world's leadership guru. He's written over 100 books on leadership and self-mastery, and I had the privilege of being mentored, licensed, and certified by him personally. So when John he was pastor. So John is a pastor by profession. So when he first became a pastor, his goal was to get a unanimous vote and to get re-elected as a pastor of his congregation at the year-end annual business meeting. So as a pastor, he believed that his job was to make everyone happy, okay, and not to rock the boat, so to speak. So what did John do? He strived the whole year to achieve his goal, right? And at the end of that year, at the annual business meeting, at the end of that year, when people did the vote for him, he remembers his secretary reading the votes. And this is how the votes went. 31 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstention. And for some reason, he was shocked and he was hurt and he was confused. He quickly got home, and this was like devastating to him, and immediately called his dad. And his dad, by the way, was also a pastor. And he asked his dad if he should resign because he had 1 bad vote. And his father just laughed at him and told him, "No, son, you better stay. I know you very well. That 1 bad vote is the best vote you will ever get." So what did John do? For the next 6 months, by the way, he would look out every Sunday when there was a sermon and when he was delivering his ministry, right? Every Sunday he would look out at the people and he would wonder, who voted against me? He never found out, by the way. So he learned something about himself. He learned that he desperately desired the approval of others. And that in itself had the potential to be a problem for John. Because when unpopular decisions had to be made, he would just punt the ball rather than carry it. And he would deflect it or kick it away as far as he could, as far away as possible from him, instead of actually carrying the ball. So what do we learn from this? As a young leader, he said, I was quick to embrace the perks of leadership, but I was much slower to pay the price of leadership. Now that's a very, very strong statement, isn't it so? Right? We all love to become leaders because there are lots of perks. What is the perks of, we all know the perks of leadership, but the question is, does leadership come with a price? And he quickly realized that I can't lead people if I need people. And obviously, as leaders, you need people, but I'm going to qualify the statement just now. So that's what he came to as a realization. I'd like to take you to a little journey, and as I said, I want to ask you another question and I'd implore you to answer. Please feel free to answer. My next question to you, dear, enthusiastic, great and wonderful leaders, what do you think is the purpose of leadership? What is the purpose of leadership? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to maybe get into the chat box and give me your answers. What is the purpose of leadership? Why are you there? What's your job? Say Q&A. Some people are putting responses. I can't see them though. Okay. But let's go on to your answers. Carry on thinking about it and put your answer down. Commit to your answer, because it's very important, because we're going to look at where you are and where we want to go. So in order for us to know where we want to go, we need to know where we are. So it's important that we put our answer down, because that's how we know where we are. Okay, even if you don't put it in the chat box, write it down somewhere. What do you think is the purpose of leadership? Okay, so I'm just going to go give you an answer. So let's explore this answer here. What is the purpose of leadership? It is actually to take people where they could not go on their own. It is to inspire. It is to equip them to do what they thought they could not do and accomplish what can only be done by a group working together. So that actually is the purpose of leadership. And dear colleagues, to do this, you need to love people. You need to be close to them. You are in the people business, right? And if you don't love or value people, then you're probably in the wrong business or industry. However, as a leader, there are times when you must move forward, taking a courageous step and not waiting for others' approval. Because it's not healthy for a leader to need people's approval all the time. And that used to be my problem when I used to be at some point in time. I always wanted to consult people, get their opinion, get whatever, and please everyone. You cannot please everyone, because as a leader, you have a purpose. So as a leader, if I try to please everybody, eventually I will alienate everybody. And that's the big lesson that we learn as leaders. That's the price of leadership. A leader must be true to the vision and the people. Even when if it's not a popular decision that you're making, as long as you know that it's taking you to that vision. And that vision is a larger vision, a vision that serves, a vision that has meaning, a vision that shows, you know, your true belief and principles encompassed in it. So this is one of the burdens of leadership, and we need to embrace it. So going back to John's story, as he progressed as a leader, every time he had that desire in him to please people rather than to lead people, right, effectively, he repeated the statement to himself. He said, I can't lead people if I need people. Now, I hope that is a valuable lesson to you, because we as leaders, we tend to want to please a lot of people. And we feel that then that's what makes a good leader. But I hope today is going to be a ha-ha moment. And if you've been doing it, well done. So let us now look at, as a leader, if I try to please everybody, okay, making the tough call. So we know that as leaders, we have to make tough calls. So what do we learn we learn as leaders to distinguish ourselves, right? And to show who we really are during these tough times. Because now's your time, people. If you haven't had the opportunity before to show your mettle, now's the time. Of course, it's not that way all the time. So in fact, if you really think about it, 95% of decisions that CEOs make and leaders make could be made by any reasonably intelligent high school graduate. So what is often required is common sense, really. Think about it. 95% of your job is common sense. But CEOs and leaders don't get paid for the 95% of common sense. They get paid for the 5%. And what is that 5%? Those are the tough calls. So I'm going to go through some of the, some important aspects for you to understand when do you need to make a tough call and how to make them. So every change and every challenge and every crisis requires a tough call. And the way those are handled is what separates good leaders from the rest. So the fact that you are here, I am pleased to note that you're already showing interest and you want to be that. That's why you're here. So my question is, how do we know you are facing a tough call? How do you know you're facing that tough call? And you need to be at your best as a leader. So I'm going to go over 3 guidelines with you, right? And you will know when the decision is marked by 3 things. There's 3 things that the decision will be marked with. The first one is a tough call demands risks. So if you encounter obstacles when you want to do something that you believe strongly, right? If you have obstacles, and then someone tells you, sorry, there is no precedent that exists for such an action, okay, you want to embark on, then it is time for you to be the first. Because sometimes as a leader, you're going to have obstacles in your way. People are going to say, sorry, there's no precedent to do this. We can't do this. It hasn't been done before. The question is, if you have a vision and a focus, you will be the first to actually create that precedent. So as a leader, you know that, right? Come, hell, water, you will do it because you have to sometimes create that precedent yourself. Leaders have the willingness to do things that others are unwilling to do. That's your job. And that's what makes leaders so crucial. So that's why it's so important when we're choosing leaders. It's in that they must have that spunk in them. They have to put themselves on the line. They have to know that there's risk involved. That effective leaders take risk. Because if you're not willing to take any risks, then you have no business being a leader. Because if you want to save, that's John's famous saying, right? He says that is what true leadership is about. You can't play everything safe and expect to take your people forward at the same time. Progress requires risk. So that's the first thing that I want you to realize and understand and embrace. Okay. The second thing that you would need to obviously look at is that a tough call brings with it an inward battle, people. Because every one of your difficult battles begins with the self and not with others. It begins with the self. Because if the path was clear and smooth, remember, then it wouldn't be a tough call, would it? Anyone could make it. So remember, any tough call that you make will be questioned. It will be criticized. It will carry with it consequences. And that is why it is a tough call. So the real test of courage is not necessarily on the battlefield, right? The real test is the test of courage on a much quieter scale. Courage are much quieter. They are the inner test, people. Example, when you remain faithful when no one is looking. Like enduring pain when the room is empty. Like standing alone when you are misunderstood. Now that is the inward battle we talk, because it has to be fought within first before you take it outwards. And doing the right thing is not always easy, but it is always necessary if a leader wants to have integrity and he wants to be effective. That's what we admire. That's what we look up to leaders for. You have to be sure on the inside before you wage your battle on the outside. I hope that's a good lesson to learn. So what we learn is that you must win your first victory on the inside before you go outside. And you have to be convinced about the course of action before you convince others. You have to know it. You have to be determined and know your focus and be unrelenting to achieve it, because nothing is going to stop you thereafter. And the vision, that's when it becomes very clear, because you know where you're going and why you're going there. So people, and the third thing that I want to talk about is a tough call will distinguish you as a leader. Because if everything is going well, then people will not need you, right? Ironically, we need to thank the time now. Now we all are, we could either look at it, this whole bad experience that we're having, the COVID, the unprecedented times, the loss, as we said, the suffering, the poverty, right? We can look at it in a pessimistic view, or we can look at it as an opportunity to change, as an opportunity to make something positive about it, to take something positive out of it. And that's the mindset that we need to know we have, okay? It gives us an opportunity to show our mettle, as I said, right? Be creative and have an impact and make your mark. And I'm hoping to inspire you. I'm hoping that when you go to school on Monday and you have your teams there, you fire up, you know exactly, you think this weekend you use thinking, where are we going? Why are we going there? And you take your team there. So when there is momentum, remember, it is easy to be a leader. When there's momentum, these things are already going well. It's easy to be a leader. All you have to do is get in front of everyone. Get in front of the pack and you continue with the momentum, because the momentum is there already. The problem comes in when there is no momentum and when the ship is static. And a good leader will give direction. And somebody already mentioned that. And I was so pleased to hear that. A good leader will give direction. A good leader will encourage forward progress. Sometimes you may need to turn the ship around because the whole ship is moving in the wrong direction. And if you know where you want to go and you look where you are, definitely you know you're going the wrong direction. It's natural. It's only logical for you to turn the ship and go in the direction you want to go. So that is what, these are the three things that I want to bring to your attention with regard to your tough call. And the next point that I want to make is rising to the occasion. As leaders, you need to rise to the occasion. Remember, tough times will either make you or it will break you. And one of the keys of being prepared for this is to make tough calls in the smaller minutes that precede it. So you will have to be prepared to do the small things, right? The difficult things, the unseen things. Get your hands dirty, right? You can't always delegate. At the end of the day, you need to know what's happening on the floor. You need to know your people. You need to feel it, okay? You need to understand it. all of this prepares you for your major difficulties. And if you are not prepared to take care of the little ones and the small ones and the dirty ones, right, and get your hands dirty, right, then don't expect to be able to rise up to the occasion and meet the big ones. So don't think that we should only manage the big ones. We need to be there from the beginning to understand. Okay, so when you don't have the luxury of time, and when you know it is now or never, and when you follow your intuition, right, and you have a very clear vision, then you become unstoppable, and you can create magnificent futures and potential ahead of you. So there's no question of breaking yourself. It's only about making yourself. So I want to quote something by Winston Churchill, our very famous guy. And he said this, and it was very, very pertinent. Then I want to read it out to you. He says, to each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively, literally tapped on the shoulder, and you're offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitting of your talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared and unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour. And I'm hoping that here's our time, our finest hour has arrived as leaders. We need to take charge. So you need to break through those terror barriers, people, and you need to focus on your vision. And once that vision is clear, as I said, the goal setting becomes easy peasy. No matter how tough it gets, a real leader will keep on leading, will never give up. And I believe that you have the answers. I'm not here to give you the answers. You have the answers. You have the potential. You have the power, right? And so does your team. Do not underestimate the power of your team, because the time is now. It's about creating that magic. And if there's anything that you want to do, if it's up to me, if it's to be, then it's up to me. That's the type of mindset that we would like to actually look at. So yes, so that's what I want to tell you about the rising of the occasion. I also mentioned that I'd like to maybe just go over, because there's so much I can do, but I just thought I'd give you some snippets. And the other thing is that, you know, just to go over some aspects about leadership and some things that I find quite, you know, common among leaders. You know, if it gets lonely at the top, then you're not doing something right. So, you know, John writes, we've done much about the topic, and it's so interesting to actually find out that bringing the people along with you brings so much of joy. So how do you bring others along with you? The first thing that you do is that you avoid positional thinking. Now, this is one of my big bugbears, and one of the things that I actually left the corporate world, by the way, was because it can get very ugly, you know, and leaders sometimes become overprotective of the position. They don't bring people up with them because they feel if they tell them and they transfer their skills to them, then that person will take their position. Now, that is operating from a position of fear, because then you're not a leader. A leader has no fear of bringing the people along with him, because at the end of the day, that's what his job is to take people up with him. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is avoid positional thinking. And I just want to read something out to you here about positional thinking that you may find very useful, right? Because he says in his book, I'm reading from the book, every time, so leadership is relational as much as it is positional. An individual who takes a relational approach to leadership will never be lonely. The time spent in building relationships create friendships with others. He says positional leaders, on the other hand, are often very lonely. Every time they use their title or and permission to persuade their people to do something, they create a distance between themselves and others. So they are essentially saying, I'm up here and you down there. So do what I say. That makes people feel small. It alienates them, right? And it drives a wedge between them and the leader. So good leaders don't belittle people. They enlarge them. And this is very, very important for you to realize that positional leadership is a way of life in many developing countries. Think about it. We grew up with this, and this is how our leaders behaved, and we seem to think that that's the way we should be as well. We emulate what the past behaviors, and that's exactly what the developing countries did. Positional leadership. Okay. And leaders gather and they protect power. They alone are allowed to be on the top, right? And everyone else is expected to follow. So sadly, what we need to realize is this practice keeps potential leaders from developing, and it creates loneliness for the one who leads. It actually creates a death. I mean, think about it. Each and every one of us are unique. We have potential. And that's what I want you to understand. Don't focus on performance. Focus on potential. Potential is unlimited. Potential is untapped. And that's what we need to do. And we need to inspire our teachers to bring that out in our students. We need to change their mindsets now. There's different ways that they need to lead. They need, as we said, unprecedented times call for unprecedented actions. So it's important that we look at that. I want to just go over. Sorry, why is this blank? Hello, have I lost everyone? For some reason.
We can hear you. We can hear you, and we can see you, and we can see your slide. Yes.
All right. Okay. I was just waiting for a second. I saw my screen just become blank. Okay, so I'm waiting for it to reflect. Can you see the screen, or is it blank?
Perhaps switch to the next screen, Tilly.
Okay.
The next slide.
All right. All right. Okay. So we spoke about this. Yes. Now I can see the screen and I feel happier because I don't want to be speaking to a blank screen. So remember we already spoke about that only self-centered leaders travel alone. So you can't afford to be self-centered. And I think that's one of the old limiting beliefs that we gotta get rid of. So how do we bring others along with us? And we spoke about positional thinking. When you use your title to persuade people, you actually create distance. Okay, and we also need to understand that taking people to the top is what good leaders do. That's what good leaders do. They take people to the top, right? And good leaders don't belittle people. They enlarge them. Also, best leaders know that leading people requires loving them. And the other thing that I'd like to look at, screen is also just taking a bit long to show, but one is too small a number to achieve greatness. And this for me is a very important point. We can't do magnificent things and big things alone. We got here with the help of some other people's support. And in order for us to take, we as leaders, we need to go, to achieve our vision, we need to take others with them. And we can't do it alone. One is too small a number to achieve greatness. If we want to achieve greatness in this lifetime, okay? So I challenge you to find one person who made a significant impact in this world all by himself or herself. And you would never find them. So greatness is always bigger than what you can do by yourself. And that's why it's important for us not to compete with each other, but to collaborate with each other. Okay, so people, that is why I am just so passionate about self-mastery and leadership and teamwork. So it's just amazing. It's just so amazing that how much of difference we can make in people's lives. And I have had the privilege of being in many industries. As I said, I was 16 years as a teacher, lawyer, fiduciary specialist, financial planner, you name it, I've been in the corporate. And the corporate can get very ugly as well. And remember I said, PhD syndrome, I call it a PhD syndrome, pull her down, pull him down. It's a reality. It's only when I left school as a teacher and when I got into the corporate world, I realized that our schools actually don't prepare us for life. And one of the biggest, I've been through so much in my life. I want to eventually write a book on it. But I have been through dread disease, I have been through depression, I have been through divorce, and I have been through death. I call it the 4 Ds. And I promise you that in itself was so devastating that none of my degrees that I had and all my education was able to help me through these situations. It was only when I began to really get into myself and I began to master myself. I did the self-mastery course and that was the lifesaver. Now I know I can handle anything and everything. But obviously the education, complements everything, and the experience and the competence and the people that helped me along the way. I need to give them credit. But what I'm saying is that I pray and wish, and I'm hoping that all the principals out there, self-mastery must be taught in schools. I mean, that is my wish and impact that I want to leave with you. But Trona, shall we have a 5-minute comfort break? And then we can, I'd like to wrap up a bit, and just talk about, just what we've learned, etc., and then open the floor to Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Tilly. I'm sure we'll appreciate 5 minutes, so we can reconvene at 10 to 11, and then we can wrap up and go through the questions that are in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. See you soon. And I think the key is accountability, right? And as a leader, and we also need to teach everybody the power of accountability. We all know that we need to motivate and inspire our teams. That is our function. I think we also need to understand and find creative ways of working together, because they say teamwork is the dream work. And, as we already mentioned, you can't do everything on your own. And the last thing that you want to do is create division, etc. And obviously you're going to have not everyone, as we said, following you, but at least if you know that you've got the majority, that's because you have a vision. And it's all about you communicating that vision. Because if people won't follow you because if they don't know where you're going and why you're going there. So focus on the vision, as we said, that's very important, and communicate that vision. Sometimes we have it in our heads and we wonder why they are not following. It's because we haven't communicated it sufficiently. We need to repetitively do it. It needs to be, the picture that you have in your head must be as crystal clear in color and in big font and big print to everyone. Then we know we all are going the same. And sometimes people need, if you can see a big picture and sometimes you just need to focus on the one area. Okay, right now we're going there, but this is where we want to go for now, right? And this is where the whole idea comes in, that you're valuing your people. And remember, if you value your people, right, that's because you respect them and love them, and they must witness that. That is very, very important. I know we have inherited staff, and not everybody that we all have issues. Even the staff is not perfect themselves. They have their own limited self-beliefs that they're bringing with them, and they are tainting it and really making things difficult. Okay, but we need to persevere. We need to be patient. We need to be passionate, and we need to be resilient, because if these are the qualities that we have and we focus on, it's going to be, how can you not notice it? Okay, and as we said, we need to make those tough calls. Yes, as leaders, we need to make those tough calls, and it's easy to make the tough call when you know that you have a vision that is beneficial to all. You can't be a vision that is self-centered, that is differentiated. Then you're going to have an issue, because then no one's going to go there because it's not benefiting everyone. So be patient, as we said, be passionate, be resilient, right? Get your staff, sometimes you have to reskill them, you have to upskill them, you have to cross-skill them. Guys, I can't explain to you what we are going through now. As we said, is unprecedented. I have quickly got onto grief coaching. I've just done grief coaching, and our kids are getting orphaned. Both their parents are losing both their parents. I've just lost 7 relatives in the last week. So can you imagine how are our people coping with grief? Can you imagine with grief alone how the healing takes so long? And now we have to make sure that they have to learn and worry about a career and worry about passing, etc., when the fundamentals are not in place. So that's why we need to rethink, and we really have to understand that our roles need to switch here. We have to be more than just educators. We have to jump in and do other things, upskill and reskill and cross-skill, as we said. And we've got to get our teachers to teach. Now, not necessarily teach the same syllabus, etc., and force things that we did in the past. But what are we teaching them? Life skills, right? Coping. It's all education. How are we preparing them for life? We must move away from the whole thing is, this was the text, and we have to follow this, and we have to do this section and that section. If this is not finished by this time, then we haven't finished the syllabus. By the way, the greater education happens outside the classroom. So remember, education and teaching, it can be in other forms. We're really preparing our students for life. And one of the things that we need to is our goals is individual needs. We need to really address the individual needs. So we must make the learners learn. And I know you're probably doing this and you're saying this, and I speak like this because of how passionate I am about it. right? I would love for everyone to explore new and creative ways of doing it, right? Make it exciting for the students, right? You need to ooze with enthusiasm yourself. I know it's difficult. As I said, we cried, we lost, we're losing people that we can't even, I can't even, do justice in terms of tributes. And sometimes I wonder, is God taking the best? And we all go through this. So you need to, as we said, still on top of all of this, that is the role of a leader, to bring calm, amongst all this chaos and this challenge, right? To bring and to show understanding and empathy. Okay, so to keep calm when things are falling apart, to get people to get up, dust off, and move on. It's not easy, but again, if you are doing it, if you can show them, and then again, I come to the whole thing about self-mastery. It's all about self-mastery. If we can only teach our students, young leaders, self-mastery, because then remember, I cannot lead you if I cannot lead myself. So where does it begin? It begins with self. And my famous saying, people, is my biggest lesson that I've ever learned in this entire life, is everything that you seek in life lies within you. And if we can master self thinking, and remember, there's all aspects to yourself. It's not only your physical, it's not only your mental, it's emotional, it's psychological, and it's spiritual. So we really have to keep all of that in balance. And in schools, we can't only focus on the mental. And the other things all flat. How are we preparing the student for life? So ultimately, as we said, the professional responsibility of education is to guide our pupils, right? During these turbulent times, in the pursuit of knowledge, right? In the pursuit of awareness, making them more insightful, teaching them how to think, not what to think. Skills, right? And if we don't have our skills ourselves, I know we don't have the skills. That's why I'm in this business. I realize that these are the skills that are so needed, that fill the gap, to actually develop the creative potential, so that they may become responsible and self-supporting, citizens in a democratic society. So that's our pursuit as teachers. That's our responsibility, right? Is to guide our pupils. And we may need to go back to the drawing board, people. That's my take on it. And sometimes we have to step away from operating from our space of scarcity. We don't have this, and we don't have this, and we don't have this. Remember, all that we need, we have. If we can breathe, and if we can think, and if we can keep every day, and if we can make every day, pass through every day, we have all that we need. Think about it. This COVID is there to teach us so many lessons. There's no distinction between rich and poor, between private education and public education, etc. Not even money can buy what we need today, right? So, as I said, I strongly believe that we need to free ourselves from our old limiting beliefs. Now, as a coach, I speak here like a coach, because I am a professional coach as well. So, one of the biggest things that I find is old limiting beliefs, and that no longer serve us. And we get attached to that, and we need to break that whole cycle. And the only way you're going to know that is by knowing yourself, how you think, when you think, why you think, and then you actually do some very corrective measures yourself, and then you realign and you recalibrate, and that's when you actually are in a position to be holistic and to give. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're not filling your cup, you can't give anything to anyone else. You can't pour from an empty cup. Your intention must to fill yourself so much. That's what I do. That's my job, is to make sure that I fill my cup, because I can only give you the overflow. Because if I give you what I have, then I'm going to empty and be parched in the end. And that's where the whole thing is, that, sometimes we want to please others without really pulling our own and understanding once you understand how you work and what makes you tick and what's working and what's what's doing the job and what's not doing the job, it's easier to teach it. And it becomes contagious. It's become something that we can light the flame in everyone. So as I said, they actually sabotage us, and they turn us into very stagnant and very complaining beings. So I say this because I've been there before. And it's only when we make the unconscious conscious. So what I'm trying to do is trying to make something that's unconscious, and we can only do this through coaching and obviously through a process, right? You'll never know something that you don't know, okay? So because only if we make the unconscious conscious, then we can change, because then we'll know what to change and how to change it. So it starts with us. And then it's so simple, and that's my dream. That's my dream for the world, because if we can light our own candle, then we can light the candle for our team, and then the team will light the candle, of the student, and the student will light the candle of the home and the community and the nation, and that's how we get to change the world and move towards our vision. So let us see this opportunity, people, to build our dream education system for South Africa, right? An education system that we are proud of, an education system that we are proud to send our grandchildren to, right? Without fear of reprisal, without fear of being shortchanged in any way, of being substandard in any way, right? Because I believe it is possible, right? And it's education that our kids so deserve. That's the best we can do as leaders, right? Leave our impact on the world. So is our syllabus preparing our students for life? What needs to be done? What is true intelligence? What is intelligence? Is just remembering something intelligent? If you ask me what I got right in my Senate 3 exams in geography, which I got maybe 78% or 98%, you ask me the same question now, I can't answer you. I know the only way I can do it is now what makes me a resilient, a courageous, a confident person is the ability to think. So and the quality of my thinking is more important than what I read and how I regurgitate it, because that's what is the true success to life. So what about the other aspects of self, and we spoke about that. So guys, that is basically that's why I say I'm such an advocate for self-mastery, right? Even if you're a leader, you can't be a leader without you yourself mastering yourself. And one of the things that we learn is that, and it just gives you the confidence to do anything and everything. And the whole idea is to be as unselfish as possible and to give unconditionally. Because when you master yourself, there's no one like you. Because, the only person you compete is with yourself. You need to be better tomorrow than you were today. So that's the only competition you actually involve yourself in. Because the next person is unique, and their talents and whatever is, you will never possess it. So that is why there's no fear. I have no fear of anybody beating me, because there's nobody else but me. And you are the same. If everybody feels unique, and we know that we have this power and this potential, imagine what this world would be like. So guys, this is my dream, and I have to say this. So this is my solution to the world and my passion. I want to impact, I want to serve, I want to love, I want to celebrate, I want to solve, I want to heal, and I want to inspire. And thank you for this opportunity. So over to you. Over to you. We have about 45 minutes of Q&A.
Thank you, Tilly. That was really inspiring. I'm sitting at the edge of my seat waiting for more. We have some questions that have come up that, people obviously want your insight into it and helping them giving them some kind of comment that will give them some direction in terms of it. I'm going to give you 2 questions for now, and when you're done, then I'll continue with 2 more questions. The first one I will look at is from Anand Goundan, and he says, as a principal of a school, how would you manage continuous criticism from your staff that is never expressed openly? The second one I want to go to is, and this is a real one, with principals and as you spoke about those unpopular decisions, this comes from Cornelius. He says, I know you should not use your title, but is it not necessary to sometimes make the call and use that position of authority to stamp down the final decision, especially after long consultation with your leadership teams and looking at all possibilities, knowing your decision is the best for the school community and or teachers. And Tilly, this is really something that principals, leaders, and even managers grapple with, in that we find ourselves in a position where we know we have to consult, but we get caught up in a tug-of-war situation with your staff where you try to do the democratic thing and you try to make decision-making a joint process. And ultimately, as a principal, you have to supersede, or you have to then look at what's in the best interest of the school, and looking that the collective decision or consultation will not be. And I think Cornelius is at that point where he says, when do I now use my position and say, thank you for consultations, but this is what we're going to do? So this is a real struggle. Tilly, I hope you can give us some insight into those two questions for now.
Thank you, Sarona. So just remind me again, the first one is about criticism from the staff, right?
Yes.
By Anand.
Yes.
Okay. So my advice to Anand would be to actually welcome the criticism and examine it, because there may be something that he or she may not be aware of that is lacking in their leadership style. Remember when I spoke about John and I said, that one vote, right? And the whole idea is you learn something about yourself. But if it's not true, then you don't really need to, and you don't have to take it personally. So the other advice as a leader is that you're going to get flack, you're going to get criticism. People want to see you. They want to see you if they put pressure on you, whether you can stand it. They want to see if you fall, how you affected, etc. So if you go home, if you're going home and you're not sleeping on it, so the best thing to do is to understand why where is this criticism coming from? Is it justified? And once you have done that, I think the most important thing is to communicate with your staff, even if it means one-on-one, right? Because you really need to get to know them. As we said, it's the dirty work, right? We really need to. We can't expect the HOD or this person here, you are there to do this, etc., and keep aloof about this, because it's about knowing and having the one-on-ones that I can suggest. Okay, it's a tough process, Anand. It's not something. That's why we said that's the price of leadership. We're going to get the criticism, we're going to get the consequences, we're going to get all of that. But this is what I can tell you, is that if you know why you're going, where you're going, and if you have a clear vision, and the main thing is about communicating that vision, Taruna. This is the message, and I found it over and over again, even in corporates. I see this mistake being made over and over again, where the vision lies in the leader's head, but it's not communicated to everyone, right down, as I said, make it as, because the other question that you asked me about stamping your authority and after consulting with everyone, this is my advice. If we all know where we're going, shouldn't we all be thinking in the same line? So my thing is that even before you start and you open up the discussion, because if you open up a discussion, you're going to get anything coming flying at you. But if as a leader, you go there and you position it. This is where we're going. Do you all agree we want to go there? Everybody must agree that this is where we want to go. If you're not agreeing that this is where we're going to go, then jump off the bus right now. So once everybody knows what the goal is, whatever suggestions they are making will always be towards that goal. So the mistake we make as leaders is that we don't even know where we're going, and that's the fact of it, Tarona. That's why I asked the question: what is your current goal as a leader? It's easy to say, just like words we use, and goals and direction and all of that. But what is it? Bring it down to specifics. What do we want to do? Do we want our students to be more proficient digitally at the end of 2021? so that they can do their research and whatever, and is that what we want? And we want them to have 80% proficiency, right? So that's the goal we're talking about, and that's the clarity that is actually lacking, and that's the job of the leader. But he has to obviously get the consensus of his team, because to say, hey, do we all agree we want to go there? Because once you get agreement as to where you want to go, then it's very difficult for everybody else to not think in the same line. I hope I made this it's a very important point that I'm making, and it's a mindset change here, you know, because I've been a teacher, and I know exactly how these staff meetings can go on for hours, and sometimes you just wonder what this all is. This a talk shop, talk. Okay, again, the meeting before the meeting is more important than the meeting. So if you as a leader are not using your time, and you're thinking everything happens before the meeting is just a process. It's just an execution of where we want to go, and it's just validation from the staff, and maybe a tweaking here and a tweaking there, what we need to do. Maybe you didn't think about everything, right? Because remember, we do not think as a leader that you have to do everything yourself. So, but if you don't know where you're going and you want other people to direct you, and then that's where the problem comes in. So you only consult, and as you said, you know where you want to go, and you've got your mentors, you've got your coaches, you've got your people that you know that do agree. And if you need, that's why you need a mentor, you need a coach. So I hope I answered it in principle. I answered both in principles. So the first one, as I said, is that take the criticism and analyze it and ask yourself, and then also don't take it personally, because a lot of what they say may not be true. Definitely not true, right? And but you need to be first honest to yourself. Is it true? Maybe I should you know, look at doing this. Maybe it's time for me to be. I didn't have a look at it this way, because as leaders we don't know it all. You know, you have to look at it from your followers are the people that really are there. Without them, you don't exist. So take what they're saying, and I'm not saying it's hard. It's hard as a leader. You don't want to be criticized, and that's the biggest thing. Is you know, it's like, but again, we need to take it. We need to take it. It's a bitter, sometimes a bitter thing to swallow, and you know, sometimes me as well. And I have my weaknesses, but I know I have to work on it. And it's about the awareness, as I said, making the unconscious conscious. That's what I'm talking about, making the unconscious conscious. You're not aware that you are lacking in this, or you are lacking. Maybe it's not, but only if you're absolutely sure that you're not lacking in this and they're being unfair, then I would suggest, yeah, you're not going to get everyone to, but have one-on-ones with them. Get into their minds. It's so easy for me. I want to know what you're thinking, why you're thinking, why you're thinking that way, and then I realize, then I know whether to take you seriously or not. Because once I understand your thought processes, right, and how it aligns with mine, then it's easier to understand, and you're showing them respect. Rona, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, I think you more than did. Thank you, Tilly. There's some good questions coming through. Kerry asks, which soft skills / self-mastery skills would you believe are most vital for a young leader? And if I could just go through one more here before we go on to the next set. How do I prove, this is from Shelley, how do I prove myself and get myself into a leadership position? So the first one is from Kerry. What soft skills or self-mastery do you believe is vital for a young leader? And the second one is from Shelley. How do I prove myself and get myself into a leadership position?
Okay. So to answer the first question, self-mastery is a course on its own. There's a whole lot of skills that you learn, you know. But to answer the question, I would think self-awareness, right? Because it's very important. And then we actually, I do this course, as I said, becoming a self-genius, and the breakthroughs that I've had, people, it's amazing. It will help you in your relationships. It helps you with your business. It helps you with leadership. It's just totally amazing. And the more I teach it, the more I learn. And remember, it's not just a course that you can do. You can refresh yourself on an ongoing basis. So definitely self-awareness. So, it's like, I don't know if you agree with this, Tarona, and sometimes your mind becomes your biggest enemy. And you can't even stop that, you wish you could just switch that button off, and then you're playing these thoughts and then you go off on a tangent, and then something else comes in, and but once you go through this process, you're able to detect, and you become an outside force observing what's going on in you. And then you learn what is serving you and what is not serving you. And then you actually just fill your head with things that fuel you. Because remember, whatever we put in the conscious goes into the subconscious. But the very important thing is to make sure that, sometimes and the subconscious is the main one that actually sometimes make the decisions, it's beliefs, and that's what it actually comes out in our actions. So I would suggest that is, understanding the self-awareness and bringing the conscious, unconscious to conscious. For me, that is the course and the skill that you need to master. So that answers the first question. The second question, very good question. I mean, somebody is an aspiring leader here. So the question that she needs to ask herself, why does she want to become a leader, or he want to become a leader? Okay. There are certain characteristics that, like, as we said, as a leader, you need to understand that you're going to get criticism. Are you that type of person? So understand it. The question is, what do you want to lead? You have to first find a passion. So just being a leader in itself, you're chasing a position and you're chasing a title. And that's all we wanted to remember. We wanted to get promoted. We want to become the HOD, the team leader, the monitor, everything. That's how we were taught, right? Because that was something that they revered. The question is, does your makeup as a person, right, fit that, right? Remember, I never fitted the leadership role because I always thought, I hated this whole thing about being micromanaged and, about being, telling people and firing people and all of that. Now it's easy for me to ask people to get laid off because if I have a vision and we all know why we're doing what we're doing, and I'm transparent about it, and I do it with respect and value, now for me to become a leader is what I want to do. So the timing is only now that I feel that I find a place for my leadership in society today. All these years, I felt that I was a misfit because I knew that I would not make it. I would just be mowed down, okay? Because you were seen as weak if you showed any compassion, or if you showed any, sort of like, as you said, nurturing and loving and all of that. Right? You had to be hard. You had to do this. You had to do that. Now I realize that I can have that. I have my assertive side. It's easy. And it was always there. So my advice to you again is, why you want to become a leader? Ask yourself these questions. If you need to be passionate about, what do you want to lead people? What is your vision? Because a leader must have a vision. If you don't have a vision, then first get that vision. My advice to you. What do you want? You want to become a leader because you want to, if you are right now being so inspired to make a difference in South Africa and bring out equality in education and bring collaboration and bring and teach people new skills and revise the syllabus, whatever, then go ahead, my girl. Do it. That's my answer.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Tilly. There's another question here regarding self-mastery as well. Just asking about self-mastery. This question is from Amy. How would you suggest starting this, especially in such uncertain times? How would you develop confidence in yourself and your abilities? And the second one is from Galen. How do you potentially change stagnant mindsets?
Okay, so the first one is you need to go through. It's mind power. It's practice. It's going through something over and over and over again. And there's a course. How do you do it? You go through a course. We take you through. As I said, we have a self-mastery course. that takes you through a journey. You know, the journey is, I don't have a book here, but it actually takes you through the whole thing. In other words, you talks about intention, the conscious, the unconscious, self-awareness, you know, the different laws of pain, trade-offs, you know, and it's a course, right? And as you're going through those courses, and as I said, the reason why I call this company a transformation company is because it's not just coming to a workshop and sitting there and learning about a concept and walking away. It's like you go and do the homework. We're talking about self-work now, thinking, reflecting, the law of the pause, the law of the pain, the law of the rubber band, you know, all of these things. And it's amazing how when you're given this, your mind just opens up, and then we come back and we actually do it through a mastermind class. So you're not, you know, it's not just one me just speaking or whatever. You get the privilege of getting insights of other people, and you see the breakthroughs. And we do the group coaching, so we actually do it like that. So that's how the course is actually structured. So if that answers the first question, and as we said, you just can't build confidence like that overnight. It's a process, but it's amazing that the transition that you see and the transformation that does take place. But the important thing is to keep them. So I suggest you have a personal journal. We plot where we are, where we're going, what we celebrate, little things, you know, in life. And we really get to study ourselves. It's really love. It's so interesting, not just subject matter, something external. So that's how self-mastery is done. The second question, I think, alludes to coaching. So just repeat the second question, Satrona.
Yeah, sure, Tilly. It's from Galen. How do you potentially change stagnant mindsets?
Okay. So again, as we said, it's all about the conscious and the unconscious and what's sitting in the conscious. So in other words, yourself, your limiting beliefs. So now as a coach, I am trained to sit with people and find out why, and then you yourself, you actually come to your own conclusions and you have your own aha moments. So how do you do it? The question is the coaching. You need to be a very skilled person to understand and ask the right quality questions and to find out what's stopping this person, you know, and looking at it from a different angle, etc. And really, so it's coaching. You know, people don't understand coaching. There's a lot of misnomer about coaching and mentoring. Mentoring is when you are an expert in a field and you can teach someone what you know. Okay, but coaching, on the other hand, is like a designed alliance with someone. So it's like me taking, like, first of all, if I'm coaching you, you need to have a dream, and I take you to your dream. It's like it's like having a navigator, you know, to get to your destination quicker than you would normally have got there. So because I understand when he's talking about stagnant mindset, yes, mindset. What is caused the mindset? It's a belief. So we go into the belief systems. We examine those belief systems and go deeper, 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 deeper until we unlock it and we unravel it. And we realize whether it's serving us or not serving us, and then we fill it in with new beliefs that take us forward. So that's how you change a stagnant mindset. That I just told it to you in the simplest way I possibly can, in terms of all my education that I got as a coach.
Okay, thank you, Tilly. Let's take one or two more. Let's do this. Is interesting. At what point does a leader need to consult with their leaders with regards to the risks they would take? And this one, I think, is really important. Not that the others aren't, but you know, in the environment that we work in, the question is leading in a sexist environment.
Okay, so let's talk about the first one. When do you consult with your leaders as far as risk is concerned? So as I said, it also depends on the relationship you have with your seniors. And again, your leaders need to give you, really need to trust you to make the right decisions, etc. If you're already fearful of making these decisions, it means your leader is not giving you that freedom. because you don't know already. You're asking the question, when do I consult with him? Because I don't know when I'm going to overstep my mark, etc. And these are the conversations that you need to have. These are crucial conversations you need to have. Sit with them. I mean, why are we afraid of leadership? Just another person. Think about it. If you value people, your people are more valuable than you. So and sometimes we don't get the right leaders, unfortunately, and that's the problem because of their old mindsets and positional thinking, etc. So that's when there's a problem. Then I just opt out. I can't work with someone that I can't. That's not taking me where I want to go, and is inhibiting me and not giving me the freedom or not trusting me to make decisions. Because why am I in that position? Right? I may want to inform you, or may want your opinion, or may want your I want to soundboard something with you. And again, the decision that you make and the decision that your senior makes should be on the same line, because we're all going in the same direction. So if they haven't given you direction and you're now trying to find something and come up with some idea to impress the person, whatever, again it's about misalignment of the vision. And that can cause a problem, because you're here and they're here. And again, it's about positional leadership. Now, if you feel that you're going to get ostracized by someone by doing something which you thought was right, but again, you need to go back and get. If I was you, I would go back to my leaders and say, "What is the vision? Where are we going?" And then whatever you say is going to be, he's going to welcome it. So again, as I said, it's all about, comes down to communication of vision. That's basically it. Sorry, and the second question about sexes. I'm not sure what context the person is referring to here, Drona.
Well, today
I'm not sure whether the man is feeling ostracized or the woman is feeling ostracized. But when you say sexist, I need more context.
Okay, I would assume that it is usually a situation where the females feel that probably not being given opportunities to lead, or being a female or leading in a school where you have a situation where you are undermined because you're female. That is that I'm speaking from a union perspective in terms of what comes through from membership, especially from females who are in management. They do sometimes are undermined by males because of that patriarchal mindset that the team has. So how would a principal, and I'm just speaking on behalf of this person, but I'm just trying to contextualize it for you, what the general sentiment usually is. So how would a leader who is leading a team that have this patriarchal mindset actually rise above that?
Okay, so it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult, because remember, and again, it's we really need to make sure that the leaders, all I do is implore, because remember, there are more male leaders than female leaders. Am I right, Trona, in the teaching profession?
Yes, there is this imbalance. We do get the stats from the department, in terms of the positions that people hold and related to their gender. And although the biggest base is level ones is females, females are the most dominant in the profession. But when it comes to being promoted, males outnumber females in terms of being principals, deputy principals, more often than not. So definitely the stats do show that men in the profession are more likely to become promoted as principals. This also, I must add, is very much so a community context, because remember, the promotions are recommended by the school governing bodies. And in some communities, they believe that only a male can be the principal of the school. So really, Tilly, it's really a social issue more than anything else. As to why this happens. But if you're looking at the question now in context of your presentation, how does then a female work against odds and trying to lead a team that have this kind of attitude?
Okay, so if I was her, I would do something. I would try to make sure my leadership abilities and qualities become visible. So you have to find platforms to make it visible. and it's not only talking. I know as teachers, you feel like the ones that dominate the meeting are the ones that get promoted, etc. Sometimes, they're not the ones with the solutions. So, it's different ways of looking at it, and it's like times like these. If I have a staff right now and I'm watching them, who's taking initiative? Who's leading here? Who's got the natural? I mean, the good thing about leadership, and this is what I learned from John, is that leadership can be learned. Leadership skills can be learned. You don't have to be born with leadership skills. So if men have that mindset that leadership leans more to males, that's incorrect. That's totally incorrect, because you're not born with leadership skills. Some females can be extremely good leaders. Okay, so leadership is not something that you're born with. Leadership skill, it's something that you can acquire. That's the good news. So there's no excuse for us to side male or female based on thinking that naturally one leans towards this. And it's a belief, as you already pointed out, from the community. The community already believes that men are stronger leaders than women. Now that itself is a limiting belief, and we need to unpack that. And if I was her, I would make sure that I'm vociferous and I'm visible in the community. You start there, and then people are going to see. You're going to show your mettle, and eventually you will shine. The universe will bring it to you, right? And again, it's obviously the men have to change their mindsets as well, and stop keeping this club, so to speak, because at the end of the day, it's going to be like we know this, this tussle between male and female. We're human beings. As I said, if we value each other, I don't see you as a female, I don't see you as your male, I don't see you as a black, I don't see you as your white. I see you as a human being. I see you as a person I value. And I see you as for your qualities and your characteristics that you bring. That's where we need to be. So we need to take out all these other things, and unfortunately, they all get filtered into it. So hopefully, this leadership, presentation itself is going to help unpack those. And it's, as we said, it's something that we need to deal with and really show. Because as I said, if I know my ability and I'm happy, I don't need a title to be a leader. You can still be a leader where you are. And this is what I tell everyone. You can be a parent and you can be a leader. You can be a student and you can be a leader. Because what do leaders do? What is leadership? Leadership is influence. Is when you positively influence someone. That's what it is. Right? And why can't we positively influence someone? Do we really need a title to do that? Are we looking for the perks that go? What are we looking for? So each and every one of us, we can be leaders, So, and that's where the mindset comes from, is that if we teach leadership that is done that everyone can practice, then this world is going to be such a magnificent place to live in.
Thank you, Tilly. Can I go to just two more questions before we wrap up?
Sure.
One is an interesting one. It's from Anonymous. She asks, I'm not a principal, but an educator. What if leadership is weak and some educators that have been there for years overrule the authority of the leader? How do you handle the situation if you are a fairly new educator and feel that there's unfairness? Do you remain quiet or ask questions, but deep down you feel that if you open your mouth, you will jeopardize your career? Yes, Tilly, you obviously agree with me that there are weak leaders, and what happens is the team takes over the decision making and these opportunities are created much to the dismay of the rest of the staff. So, and I'll ask one more question. And this is, we've had some issues regarding grief. How do leaders in these unprecedented times navigate our way in helping our teachers and learners through grief? Those will be the last two questions, Tilly, that we'll take. Thank you.
Okay. So let's deal with the first one, where Anonymous mentioned how the team seems to be making decisions and weak leadership. And what does she do or he do in a situation like that? It's a difficult one, Tarona. It's like what is your priority? You know, I mean, we know that if we speak up, we may get ostracized and we may lose a job or we get transferred. So that is playing at the back of our mind. But we can see that, you know, what's going on. You know, and again, my only advice to this person is, what do you value more? Do you value your job and your salary, and are you happy to can you really take this toxic environment, because it's really toxic? It's going to get to you at some point in time, because you're already churning inside, because you know it's definitely not a healthy environment. It's not an environment that you're going to thrive. It's just an environment you're going to be tolerating, right? You need to understand that if what can I do to influence and change the situation positively, right? And if nothing can be done, then, you know, you have to think of ways in which that you exit from that, because I strongly believe that your environment affects who you are. Because Trona, I'm talking from experience here, that if your environment is toxic, it affects you internally. I mean, that's what illness is about. Disease is dis-ease. There's something that caused you some dis-ease in your life externally. So your body is now screaming out and saying, you know, something is wrong. So again, you need to listen to yourself. So that's why we come back to self. Can you see how I go back to self all the time? It's about self-values. It's about what's your priorities? What are your principles? What makes you as a person? What's your passion? What's your purpose, right? And it's very important to be in an environment where you flourish. Now, sometimes we choose this and we stuck here. So you need to decide, do I just bear it out for the next whatever, and then I get myself to another place, right? What can I do to change it? So again, everything is you need to do it. If it's to be, it's up to me. I can't wait for somebody else to come and fire him, or this to do this, to do that. I can only change my behavior, and I can influence others. So that's the mindset that we need to have. And what I'm going to leave the people with is that, again, get close to your heart, get close to your mind, know who you are, what makes you tick. You know, maybe it's time to speak up. And you know, if you have a backup plan, speak up. You know, I do not believe that you should be quiet if you feel this or whatever, but you don't have to embarrass the person. You can have a one-on-one and say, you know, you're behaving this, or you're doing this, right? Do you know that this is what it's causing to this and this and this? And if you feel that they're going to ostracize you and you don't want to do that, it's a risk you're taking. I've taken those risks in my life, and I definitely I suffered the consequences as well. So, but I realized that I couldn't stay there. I had to either exit or change. So that's the first one. And then the second question was, you mentioned?
The second question was, no, that was the second question.
Okay. So did I answer both?
Yes. Yes.
So the one, no, I think there was another one. What was it?
There was the one that was from Anonymous, the one that the principal or the leader is being directed by the team.
Yes. And then the second one?
The one about okay, how do you
sexist? Oh, about being sexist. We didn't answer that one.
No, it's the one about how do you assist teachers and learners with grief during this time.
Yes, that's the one I was going to come to. Yes, that I knew there was something that I didn't answer.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a very, very good question. And remember, as a leader, you need to understand that you can't expect your staff, etc. You really need to be compassionate. You need to be empathetic. I do grief coaching. I did a seminar on grief. Grief it's a very it can be very debilitating. Obviously, if you look at a definition of grief, it's when you lose someone or something very that you have a strong emotional bond with. And then all of a sudden, you go through these all these experiences, which is like shock and anger, and then bargaining, and depression, and then eventually it comes to acceptance. So again, can you imagine, staff, maybe lost their parents, maybe lost their spouses, maybe lost people close to them, and grief is something that is an individual process. Meaning that some people can get over it in 2 or 3 months. Some people don't ever get over it. So all you can do as a principal, right? And one of the things I tell everyone about grief is that you can't tell the person, get over it now. Come on, you have to see to the others now. And you've got students to worry about. And if you are so moping like this, etc., so immediately that kind of thing pushes the person deeper into a hole. And they can get into a depression, and really that depression can be, they can stay there for a long period of time, and it can cause serious psychological damage. So the best thing that you can do everybody asks me, so if somebody passes away, what do you do? All you do is acknowledge the person's pain, give them some sort of understanding. Unfortunately, this is life. And if it really becomes so debilitating where it's affecting the person's work, then, people should rally around, help a person to a certain extent. And at some point in time, unfortunately, that person becomes dysfunctional. And you as a leader now, that will be way ahead. But you need to first give understanding and compassion, because as we said, we are in unprecedented times. We don't know we're going to be here tomorrow. I'm sitting here like this. At the end of the day, I'm praying and hoping that we see this together, right? And but we can only take one day at a time and not think too futuristic. So my advice to that principal is, do what you human and compassionately can to help, because we don't have a tomorrow. We only have today, and we can only do the best for today. And it's amazing how a little help can take somebody a long way. And I know that for a fact, that we need to be more kind, we need to be more compassionate, we need to just give people the space. They are going to say, oh, look at my principal, he cried with me or held me or whatever, and he said, he acknowledges my pain. That's all people want you to do is acknowledge what they're feeling, and they'll get out of it as much quicker than what you thought they would. So that's my answer about the grief.
Thank you, Tilly. There's a lot of comments in the chat that, we need to do a follow-up. So I hope you're going to be amenable to NAPTOSA inviting you again. If you have any concluding comments, would you like to do that before I extend our gratitude and appreciation to you?
No, thank you, Tarona. I just want to thank everyone for their wonderful participation, the fact that you're here, the full 2 hours. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I could feel your energy. Please give me some feedback. You got my email address. You've seen it there. It's info@themindwiz.com. I have a website, the Mindwiz Academy. We've got some fantastic teamwork, leadership, self-mastery courses. It's being done all online. We can negotiate pricing, etc. So that's not an issue. So please, just reach out to me. I'm here. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope I've been of some value.
Thank you, Tilly. I want to actually thank the members who have joined us this morning, actually, taking us into the afternoon almost. Your presence and your participation has been phenomenal. You have taken time off to develop yourself, and that in itself is so laudable. That is what all leaders should do, or even potential leaders, in that looking back at themselves and understanding who they are. And as Tilly said, self-awareness is so important. And of course, I think, Tilly, our group here today have already crossed that bridge, in that they've registered for this course because they know where they want to go and they have a vision. So this is the NAPTOSA family, and this is what NAPTOSA does, our commitment to growing leadership, providing support for leadership, and also looking at potential leaders and how we can inspire them as a union. I'm sure you've enjoyed it. I've looked at the chats and there's awesome testimonies in the chats. You all are obviously going to do some thinking, and please look out for any other flyers that we will do in the near future after Tilly and I have a chat and we can identify what the needs are, and we're here to serve you, as Tilly has said. And it was an absolute pleasure to having this opportunity with you this morning to grow you as leaders. Thank you very much. The presentation will be available. We will provide a link to it on our social media pages. We also have a YouTube channel, the NAPTOSA YouTube channel. So if you go onto YouTube and you search NAPTOSA KZN, the link of the recording will be on the YouTube channel. Just give us some time, probably check by Monday. Hopefully we have it done by this afternoon, but I really don't want to put pressure on anyone in my office. So we will try to get it out as soon as possible. Search NAPTOSA KZN on the YouTube, and the link to this entire presentation would be there. We look forward to you coming through again and enjoying another session with us. We are having other sessions next week. We are having a retirement resignation webinar as well. So if you haven't registered for that, that will be hosted by NAPTOSA KZN again, and that will be conducted by an executive officer from my office, Ishara. She's very clued up with retirement and resignations, although we won't want to entice you to take any of those options. I think it's good for you to actually understand what your what the opportunity, what avenues you can take and what's best for you, because you have to make informed decisions. So once again, thank you so much, Tilly. You've been such a delight to host. You have really got us all thinking, including myself. I was glued to my screen and really listening to you. You're obviously very well versed in this kind of leadership and workshops, and it's definitely your passion was felt, and we could feel your infectious energy. So thank you so much, and we're really going to be looking forward to hosting you again. Thank you again for all the members that joined us this morning, and we look forward to hosting you again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Love you. Cheers.